So for my final synthesis project, I just wanted to go over some of the different hour loans that I did and just kind of talk about how they kind of developed my overall global competency and how they just kind of helped me get through the trip and just made it a little bit more interesting and just kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little more. So for my three assignments, the first one was I walked around and just talked with a random couple out in Maastricht, and they've been living in Amsterdam for 2 years, and we just kind of talked about very general things. We really didn't get too in depth, and I was fairly nervous because it was my first time, so I really didn't know what to do. And I just had kind of an honest conversation with them just about very general stuff. They told me about some of the cultural customs, just like bikes and whatnot, just what to do, just to always be checking around and know what my surroundings are. So that was kind of nice. And they were very friendly. I was surprised with how easily the conversation kind of came. And yeah, so that was a really cool experience. And then for my second one, I ended up talking with a person who was selling clogs. And I just kind of talked about the history of them because I really didn't know a whole lot about them. And I knew it's definitely a big part of their culture, just talking about the clogs and just the wooden shoes. And you see them in cartoons and whatnot. So I thought it'd be really interesting to learn more about that. And I just... I had a good conversation with them. They kind of told me about the history just in terms of when the Romans kind of ruled the area. The ground was very wet and flooded, so they needed these wooden shoes to kind of help them float on top of the water so they wouldn't sink down. And I never really knew too much about the history. I just kind of knew of the clogs and just knew that it was a big part of their culture. So that was pretty interesting to learn just about all the kind of intricate details of how they came to be so popular in the culture. And for my final one, I talked with a Frenchman named Jean, just about art, and he told me about some of his favorite artists and just kind of all about them. And Van Gogh obviously was a big one, but yeah, I was really nervous for that one, especially because I've been walking around for a little while and I tried to talk to a few other ones and none of them really responded that well to me, and they didn't speak English or just didn't seem very friendly. So he was about the fourth person I tried, so I was getting pretty discouraged and I was doing that and I was just really nervous, but I'm glad it kind of worked out. And then we ended up talking for about 40, or not, like 20, 25 minutes or so, maybe 30, just about his favorite kinds of art and his different styles that the French kind of made more popular. So that was very interesting to learn about. And similar theme was I just talked a lot about the culture of the different areas that I was going to or just staying in. Just for the first one, just talked about the cultural customs like I mentioned. And then for the clogs, it's obviously a big part of their culture. So I was just learning more about the culture and just kind of being immersed in it. Also for the second one, I was hoping to talk about food, because I was kind of walking around to the food vendors because I know the foods there, like the butterballs and all those different kinds of foods that are very prevalent in their culture. So I kind of talked a little bit about that with the shopkeeper, but not too much because obviously he didn't know too much. But I just asked him some questions just about his favorite foods and whatnot. So that was pretty interesting just to kind of learn about the different foods as well. And then for the third one, I obviously talked about the French art, and art has a big impact on the French culture. Obviously having the Louvre and a bunch of different other art museums that are readily available just to go check out and see. So that was really interesting, just kind of get in depth with it. And a difference that I noticed was kind of the depth of the conversations, because the first one was just about very general stuff, nothing too in depth. And then for the second one...
I'm gonna make a noise now.
Okay.
Sorry.